So, me and Mike here are back with some coffee and some coffee house aesthetics for the fun fact of the day, which is, if you can guess, all about coffee houses.
Yep. Gotta get that caffeine.
Oh, yeah. And Mike's actually quite the expert on coffee houses, hence he used to work
I
for
am.
them.
Used to work at a coffee shop for 2.5 years.
Nice.
So that was
Well,
it's a fun time, man.
was? You liked
It's
it?
a fun time. I did, up until your usual drama just started to flow in between your average high school coffee worker
Yeah.
all the way up to your average 25 to 28-year-old dude still deciding what to do as a career being at a coffee shop. So that's
Drifter.
it goes both ways.
It does. Well, as I was starting my last academic school year, I've kind of come to find my appreciation for the coffee house, aesthetic. Just being as a customer, I never worked behind the bars of a barista.
Yep.
But I'm sure, on the other side, the customer side, it's very stress-free area.
Yeah, being a customer, you think of it,
Exactly.
this is a place where I go to study,
Yeah.
I go to have a good time.
Go get caffeinated and chill out in the same environment, which sounds like an oxymoron, but
And then behind the scenes, being back working with everybody, it's fun, It's an easy job if you know what you're doing. I'm not gonna lie, there's been people who have came in and naturally they just weren't good at just memorizing recipes, just adding just the right amount of sauce just to make a simple cup. So
exactly.
it just all depends,
And I also liked
it's not
it.
for everybody.
I liked it because it was good. It was not a home away from home in a sense, but it made it feel homey where I felt like I could get productive stuff done. Because I could never really study in my bedroom. I just end up jerking off too much. But you can't do that in a coffee house. That'd be a felony.
Yeah.
So with that motivation right there helped me pass my finals.
Just got to keep the gears going one way or another.
Exactly. But I don't appreciate a coffee house just as an academic or a chronic masturbator. But I also appreciate it as an artist because it's a great place to pass out flyers for your next show or stuff like that, or even just to meet other artistic people. A lot of people
definitely
hang out there.
Coffee shops usually surrounded. You want to say like-minded people, but
yeah, I think
it's not like-minded people, which makes it good.
Well,
So
I
you
think
can
nowadays
reach
there's
out.
a lot more of a diversity because there's so many more coffee. There's 2 Starbucks in every block in Washington and stuff like that. But I think you can find like-minded individuals depending on the coffee house you go to. I go to a very small individual mom and pop coffee house. So it's a lot of small business professionals that go there and students who live by.
And it's funny because the coffee shop that I worked at, it was just a drive-through. There was a table outside that you could come up to a walk-through window and you could sit down. But the majority of the customers that were regulars, they would just come in, they would get their usual, dip out, and you'd have a 2-minute conversation, if that.
So you were just working in the trenches.
Yeah, dude, it's just fast paced,
Nice.
It's just non-stop, which is cool. I mean, if you're looking to get money, you're trying to get tips, then just a drive-through where it's constantly moving forward. That's the place to do it.
Yes. But yeah, coffee house is a great place to advertise for flyers and stuff. And yeah. So we're going to learn about all of the different coffee houses around the world and the history of it and some other cool fun facts that you probably didn't know about it. So the traditional coffee house, coffee shop, or cafe serves espressos, lattes, and cappuccinos. Some might serve iced drinks or tea, which is what you're drinking.
Yep.
And then in Europe, cafes is what they're known as, also sell alcoholic drinks because Europe is cooler.
Yeah.
Have you ever had Irish coffee?
I've had Irish coffee. And
Irish coffee is pretty good.
Can't beat it.
Bailey's right now in my mug.
Yeah. That's what I'm about to switch to next.
Oh yeah. And then some cafes sell muffins, pastries, and other breakfast foods, but you already knew that.
Yep.
So let's.
And if you're really wild, you'll sell protein shakes, and you'll sell lemonades and everything else that you could think of that's a drink.
Is that what you did?
So
Protein shakes? Nah, that's actually...
Yep. And they were good. They were good.
That's definitely a muscle man coffee shop right there.
Yeah. Some unique.
But enough with the Captain Obvious information. Here are the fun, obscure facts that you probably never knew.
Yep.
You can now tell at your next coffee party. So the first coffee houses were actually from the Islamic world, originally from Damascus, and they were called the Quirin Kana. I'm fucking that up. The Kare Kane, which is Persian for coffee house.
Yeah.
And then it quickly spread throughout the Ottoman Empire in the 15th century, all the way from Mecca to Istanbul, and even and at the conception, coffee shops were very popular, meeting places to converse, drink, play board games, share stories and informations, things that every kind of human loves to do.
Yeah.
And they quickly became known as the schools of wisdom.
Schools of wisdom.
Yeah. For their reputation for having very thought out and like free-handed discourse on different ideas. But they also became very quickly controversial for the same exact reasons. Mm-hmm. And there's a 12-year ban of coffee houses from 1512 to 1524. But then it kind of ceased, like prohibition style. Everyone was like, but we like drinking.
Yeah.
Especially
where else am I gonna
they
get my
can't drink
energy?
alcohol anyway, so like they kind of need to focus. They need
some stimulant.
Mm-hmm. And then it quickly just became part of the Islamic culture, was just to drink coffee in the day. Like you go to work and then after work you come to the coffee house, decompress, and then you stumble from the coffee house.
Now going to a coffee house after work, it's brave. That's a bold move.
It's a bold move.
But
like back in the 1500s, what else did you have to do?
Yeah, you're right. If you do that nowadays, if you're really on the grind, you go to a coffee house after you work. You're already on something.
Some people go to coffee houses for work. I mean, like they work at coffee houses, but then also like remote, like learning and not remote learning, remote working.
Yeah.
And like Zoom calls and shit.
Like I said,
like I see people
some work. You know, they're just rejuvenating for that next load of work.
Exactly.
So, cheers to that.
Yeah, cheers to that. And then in the beginning of the 16th century, 2 coffee shops were actually opened in the Ottoman capital, Istanbul, and that kind of like added to the local legend and really like assimilated coffee into their culture.
Nice.
And then the coffee house trend started to spread all throughout Europe in the 17th century, along with like the Silk Road and stuff. The more they learned about it, they were like, oh fuck, we want to do this too.
Yeah.
And then fun fact, women weren't allowed in coffee shops in England and France, but they were frequently in them in Germany. So imagine there was at one point a time where Germany was more progressive than England and France.
Crazy
shit. Then in the 18th century, Ireland was actually the most progressive out of all of them. Because in the Dublin's coffee houses, they function also as an early reading center for the drunks. So people would just go, they get fucked up on coffee, then they just grab a book, start reading. And also with like the interconnectivity of all like the towns and stuff in Ireland, and the shops, and the industrialization of the printing press, it actually developed a culture of reading amongst the coffee drinkers in Ireland and increased literacy rates throughout the country. It was very impressive.
It is.
Ireland.
It's crazy what a drug can do.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, it all revolves around caffeine.
Yeah, man, it gets your brains wired, and then you're like actually active and you want to do shit with it instead of like, drinking like alcohol. Like those are all depressants. So like, eventually you're just gonna want to go to bed.
Yeah.
Coffee is like the exact opposite.
The reawakening.
Mm-hmm. And then the first coffee house in America was opened in Boston in 1676. However, Americans didn't really start having a preference over coffee to tea since until the Boston Tea Party. And they were like, fuck Britain.
Yeah.
Fuck this tea tax.
We're about this.
I'd rather drink some coffee.
This energy. We're about this good. So.
Exactly. Dunkin'. Dunkin' Donuts. And then the American coffee house rose in popularity with the Italian espresso. So as like more Italian immigrants were coming over, they started really getting into the coffee house game.
Yeah.
And many shops were opening in like New York's Greenwich Garden, Little Italy, and then Boston's North End. And then in the 1950s, coffee shops started to like host entertainment. So this was actually a place that you could go out at night, go watch people perform, and it was a lot of like folk singers, but then also some comedians rose, like Woody Allen. And then the folk music was like, that was the big trend in the 1950s. That was like hip hop for white people.
There we go.
Yeah, but both folk singing and Woody Allen have not much in common except for like fucking their daughters. But then coffee shops have always been a place to house the artistic and the academic outsiders up until the 1990s with the gentrification of the coffee shop represented by Starbucks, which, you know, corporate professionals.
Completely industrialized.
Oh yeah, just come and like I was saying, like just work all day. Plug in with their earphones, don't even talk to
you
nobody.
Walk into a Starbucks and think it's just an ordinary classroom.
You
know,
which sucks, because well, there's plenty of like small mom and pop coffee shops that still hold that, like, you know, the Friends aesthetics.
Oh yeah, like the family owns, just the smaller franchises.
Yeah, but a lot of it now has just become like a cubicle coffee shop. Imagine that.
Yeah, that's essentially what it is.
That's just work.
Everyone, they go there pretty much for the same purpose.
Yeah.
So,
but I don't know. Keep the coffee aesthetic cool. I think that's what we should do.
Definitely, coffee aesthetic should be a place where you get your drink, you energize, and you be productive.
Yeah.
So, all the other drama and all the other horse shit is leave that to the people behind the stands. So all the customers, you don't gotta worry about that nonsense.
Exactly.
So
some wise words from Mike right there.
There you go.
All right. Well,
stay drinking.
Yeah. Now you learned all about some coffee.